It's Labor Day weekend in America, my friends. The summer is already over. How did you spend the big wrap up of the summer festivities? How did you spend your Labor Day weekend? You know, there's a lot of Democrats, coast to coast, that are out in the streets protesting because President Trump has put federal law enforcement into Washington, D.C., and they have stopped black on black shootings that ended up in people assuming room temperature. There hasn't been anybody slain in Washington, D.C. in, 12, 13 days now since he did that. And boy, are the Democrats mad. Because Democrats and the unions have one thing in common. And that is, if you don't have a villain, if you don't have a problem, you don't need them, right? So the Democrats have always wanted this black violence. They always wanted black despair because they have used that for so long. They've been using it since the middle of the 60s. It gave them a lot of power. It gave them the black vote. But now that Trump has shown that it is possible to go into a Democrat city and stop the black on black violence to save black lives, now that Trump decided Black Lives Matter and he has started saving them, the Democrats are mad. They're in the streets. There's a lot about this that you're not hearing on the news. We're going to unpack it right here. Thank you, my friends. Welcome for coming back to another episode of What They Don't Say. And as usual, I've always promised from the start, this channel will always talk about what they don't say. And there's a lot about this. First of all, you got to remember, the goal of these Democrats right now isn't to push policy. They're inciting violence. They're inspiring people to be angry. And the reason why, it's not for activism. They've already got the people out there, right? They've already got the activism. When they get the activists out there, they want them mad. Why is that? I've said this in several videos before now. They want America to be ungovernable under President Trump. They do not want it to succeed. They don't want his policies to succeed because there is an international, globalist, socialist effort to bring down Western society. That includes Australia, which for some reason that's part of Western society, Europe, and America. That's the only place where this stuff is happening because the same people that want to destroy America want to destroy those places. And they've come a long way. They've had a lot of success. Trump has gotten in their way, and a lot of you people have helped him do that. God bless all of you. But right now, they've got protests going on they call workers over billionaires. Back in July, they called it the No Kings protest. Sometimes they've actually identified the protest this weekend as anti-Trump. They don't talk about it being pro-America. They don't talk about it being pro-worker. It's anti-Trump. That is the general theme. So who is behind this? It's the unions. It's the public employee unions. A lot of this is managed by the teachers. First of all, the Democrats have this international machine. Whoever the globalists behind them are, they've got the unions here in America under their thumb. They got the AFL-CIO, American Federation of Labor. Okay, what they are, if you don't know, they're a union for the unions, okay? All the workers join a union. You got the Electrical Brotherhood. You got all these different unions, International Space Workers, United Auto Workers. Okay, all these different unions existed, but they needed them under one umbrella roof. They made the AFL-CIO, and it congregated all those unions together under that. The AFL-CIO is a union for the unions. They're the ones funding all these and organizing all these protests. They're behind it all. And what's really interesting about this, they act like it's an American thing. They're saying, well, protests erupt across America. Protests sprung up. Protests are sweeping the country. They make it sound like it's something that just happened because the people are so energized. The people are so mad they got out of their bed this morning. It's like, I'm not going to go have a barbecue with my family. I'm going to get out there because I'm mad. I wonder if anybody else is getting out there. And they all gather on the courthouse lawn. It's like, wow, we all brought signs. My God, how did this happen? Hell no, this has been in planning for 8-9 months minimum, right? And it's all under the auspices of the AFL-CIO working in conjunction with the public employee unions, the teachers, the cops, the firefighters, the SEIU, every union that they could get to. There isn't a union in this country that is not involved with these protests that just happened to spring up this weekend. This is why we should not have public employee unions. All of the protests that I watched, teachers were heavily involved. People are out there wearing union t-shirts. This is the unions. You got to understand, these public employee unions are not for the public employees. They are Democrat recruitment and activism arms. They're armies. They're armies of activists. And what's funny about it, the theme this weekend, they had the No Kings back in July. No Kings protest. Trump wants to be a king. He wants to do this. He wants to do that. He wants to rule. He's a king. He's a dictator. He wants to stand there for life. Okay. That served its purpose at the time, and they recruited a lot of people from the crowd because that's what this is really about. They want to incite the crowd. They want to find the nutcases. They want to find the angry people. They got people walking around with little clipboards and stuff talking to these people, and they recruit them. They talk to them. Oh, hey, you've got that sign? Yeah, you're one of us. And they hug them, and they all get along. And they sign them up. They get them on lists. They start bringing them into meetings, okay? And each crowd gets bigger. Every time they do this, something gets bigger. This time, I call it the WOBs. Workers Over Billionaires. The WOBs, W-O-B. We're probably not going to hear from them very long. They'll switch the name up and do something different next time. But Workers Over Billionaires, because they're trying to push the theme that Trump is just doing this to help his billionaire buddies. Now, how saving black lives, reducing crime on the streets, how that helps his billionaire buddies and steals money from the workers, I have no idea how they thread that needle, but those people in those crowds do not ask. But there's something about this Trump taking over these cities, or I shouldn't say taking them over because he's not taking over the cities. What he's doing, he's moving in with assistance in law enforcement. That is not taking over a city. But there's unintended consequences if he brings in the National Guard on these places, because anyone that remembers Kent State, they remember what happens to the National Guard if it gets in a situation where the protesters draw fire from the National Guard. If the National Guard shoots one person, and God help us, I hope it's not a black person, but if that moment comes, then everything's going to explode, just like it did under Kent State. Unintended consequences, Trump doesn't need that. Let the governors call in the National Guard if it's necessary, because we got the ATF, the DEA, FBI, U.S. Marshal Service. We got all these different federal police organizations that can go anywhere. I prefer it's not the Guard, because I don't want some 19-year-old guardsman to have to live with the fact that he shot somebody if he gets attacked by a protester in one of these events. And we don't need the National Guard taking the hit for it, because that is going to be a murder. That will be publicity drama for the rest of our lives. But we've got these enormous protests. There isn't 900 or 1,000 of them springing up by accident. It's not because people woke up this morning and decided, I'm going to go protest. This has been organized. And what's funny about it, the protesters are saying, well, I'm against billionaires. They just serve themselves. They don't realize it's funded by the AFL-CIO, and they're getting money for the funding from the international globalists, the big money people, the Davos crowd, World Economic Forum, all of those global billionaires that want to destroy America. They're the ones behind this. These idiots are out in the street protesting billionaires, and they don't even realize that the entire protest is funded by billionaires who are using them. There are black people out there from the Democrat Party. They've been trained, recruited, trained by these Democrats, and they're actually got black people out there instead of saying Black Lives Matter, they're saying we don't need law enforcement saving black lives. That's basically what they're saying. They do not want federal help with law enforcement. They don't want people to be able to walk the streets, because if Trump solves that, then everybody's going to be backing him. There's a lot of black people that are already leaving these Democrats, and they're hating it. That's why they're doing all of this. But here's what people need to know. It's not just the AFL-CIO. It's just not the World Economic Forum, all the Davos people. It's not all the international billionaire globalists alone doing this. What people don't realize about these protests this weekend, one of the chief organizers is a Muslim Pakistani from London. And I am not kidding. One of the chief organizers behind the protests, 900 or 1,000 or 500, whatever protests across America this weekend on our Labor Day. The man's name is Saqib, excuse me, I always have trouble with their name. Mohammed Saqib Batai. His parents were Pakistani immigrants that went into England. These Muslim immigrants in England are destroying the country, causing all kinds of strife. He is one of them. He got himself in the parliament in England. The man runs an organization called the Action Center for Race and Economy. Okay, what the hell is that? Action Center for Race and Economy? Saqib Batai, Mohammed Saqib Batai, runs that. He's one of the key players in organizing all these protests against Trump. He's not even an American. These idiots in these unions are being used so badly. The Democrats have always used blacks horribly. They tell them one thing, they do something else, and the blacks wind up screwed. Right now they're mad because Trump is saving black lives. Black lives do not matter. You're not going to hear this information anywhere else. Everything I've seen, the protests are erupting, protests sweeping America. That's all I've seen. Now you know what is really behind it. I haven't seen anything that explains what's behind it. I haven't seen anything that explains the funding or the people behind it. Americans need to know this. The good, patriotic Americans need to know this. You're the people that put Trump in power. You're the one supporting him while he's there. You're the one empowering him to clean up these cities, to stop the death. It's all you. Trump couldn't have done this without people putting him there. It's important that you know this. It's important that your friends, the good patriot people of America, all know this and understand it. But it's not available anywhere else. That's why it's on What We Don't Say, because they don't say it. Anyway, I didn't even want to fool around with the video today. I had things to do. It's my holiday weekend too, but there's too much going on, and this couldn't be ignored because of the fact that it's not being reported, so here I am. I hope you'll take a moment, like, subscribe, offer a comment. You know, if you've got something to say about this, if there's another angle that I've missed, if there's something, if you've got a question, if there's another topic you want covered, get a hold of me. Send us a comment. All of them get answered. If there's information that you need to know that we're not hearing, I'll be happy to look it up. I have some excellent sources you would not believe. Governor Pritzker in Illinois is inciting violence with war talk. All these people at these protests this weekend, the leaders, the speakers, they're inciting violence. It's war talk. We have to fight this. We have to combat these people. We cannot let this happen. They're mad because they're afraid that the federal agents in there are going to be wearing masks so you can't identify who they are and you can't dox them. Protesters are wearing masks and they're saying the federal agents can't because we don't know that they're really federal agents. Well, look at the damn uniforms. If it says FBI on the back, if it says DEA, ATF, U.S. Marshal Service, trust me, they're a federal agent. If they got a mask on their face, it's because they don't want you going over there with your nutcase friends and making their family assume room temperature. These people can't be trusted anymore. So now we've got the Democrats, funded by globalist, socialist billionaires, protesting in the streets of America against billionaires. And these people are falling for it. We got to be careful of the unintended consequences, but Trump needs to keep this up. He needs to go into Illinois. But I suggest that when he does this, they got to have some decoy deployment. They've got to have a bunch of these guys getting their Bearcats, their Humvees, and everything, go downtown. A swarm of them go downtown and draw all the protesters down there. And while everyone is circling and they're all calling each other and they're texting, hey, get downtown, all the feds are here. Then the other teams go out and start sacking everybody. They go out and start rounding people up. Wherever they want to go, they just go and do it because you got all the suckers lured downtown. Call the teachers union and tell them, hey, we got the Humvees down here. Look out, all the feds are here. You have about 50 guys with them. Meanwhile, you send 1,000 of them out around the city arresting people. You got to have some decoy deployment because these people are crazy and they're going to show up. They're going to get in the way. But the thing you got to remember, the major goal of all this, I've talked about it before, they don't care about any of these issues. They want America to be ungovernable. They want Europe to be ungovernable. They're particularly concerned because Trump is succeeding time and time and time again. They have to stop this. They've got to get in the way any way they can. They have to get people mad. They get them out there. They give them free food. They fire them up with a bunch of love talk. They get the unions out there telling them, well, if you're a worker, then you're going to get screwed under Trump, even though he's creating union jobs and bringing manufacturing back to America. This is another reason we've got to end the public employee unions. Trump knows this. He sees it. He's lived with it his whole life. He's going to have to do it. He's got 3.5 years left. He's going to. They want America ungovernable. The protests were planned months in advance. They didn't just happen. There's international powers, including the Muslim from England. This is not about American workers. It's not about protecting anybody. It's not about liberties. Black lives don't matter anymore. The Democrats are actually at war to make sure that Trump doesn't institute the policies that are saving black lives. If this makes sense to you, then you're one of them. If it doesn't make sense to you, if you got a functional head on your shoulders, it doesn't make sense, and you need to make sure everybody that you know knows this. People that you know that are interested in politics, that are watching what's going on, make sure they understand this. You're not going to turn on anything on TV and find out that an English guy named Mohammed Saqib Batai is helping organize these American protests. I mean, for God's sakes, people, look what we're up against. This is not just exploding in America. It's a globalist, socialist effort to bring down the country. Trump is in their way because you put him there. That means you're in the way. Trump couldn't do this by himself. He didn't get there by himself. He needs you to stay involved, to stay aware, to share the information that we all need, that every good patriot needs. All of this that's going on right now, none of it has anything to do with helping the downtrodden, with bringing back the cities. Trump is going into Chicago. That's going to be ground zero. God bless him. He can't do it fast enough. Tom Homan, he's the guy to do it. Christian Noem, she's doing a hell of a job. Tulsi Gabbard, all of these people are doing a phenomenal job. They need our support. They're up against the world. They're up against the World Wide Web of international globalist socialists, billionaires. We got to get this right, my friends. Maybe if we do, then God will continue to bless this great country of ours. Thanks for listening.